just when you thought I was gone away, just when you thought we were gone away, don't fret, fans out there. YouTube, what's up, y'all? It is your boy Sanchez 405 coming at you on the warpath, getting ready for this 2017 season. I've got Amir here with us as well, talking about the news of the day, y'all. And I know some of us were holding out hope, holding on to change like it was 2008, y'all. But the Redskins and Kirk Cousins, they could not come to an agreement on a long-term deal, and he will play under the franchise tag for the duration of the 2017 season. Amir, man, for lack of a better term, I was more of a realist on this one than I would say you, and I gave you a hard time about this. But just talk about, like, I guess we'll start on Friday and say, what were your thoughts, man, when what you expected, and then what you thought here today on Monday?
Well, Sanchez, thanks again for having me here. Again, this is Amir Harlow, formerly of Hail to the Redskins 559 blog. We'll have to be shutting that down, but luckily, your boy Sanchez 405 over there has been kind enough to let me be the Eric Schaefer of his production.
That's right, cap specialist, baby.
Cap
Yep.
specialist, new executive producer, and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. So thank you again thank you for welcoming me to the team.
Hey, thank you, man. Thanks
So,
for coming on.
yeah, I was definitely more of a optimist than a realist in this situation, and I was hoping something would get done. I kept checking my phone every little bit, and I ended up falling asleep for a little bit there. And being on the West Coast, I woke up at 1:05 p.m. and that's all the time. I'm like, no, the deadline, and I reach over to my iPhone, look at the screen, and just to all my dismay, I see Redskins and Kirk Cousins do not agree on long-term deal and will play on the franchise tag for the second consecutive year.
And
And
first
part of
quarterback,
this, yeah, don't sorry, go ahead.
first quarterback ever to do that in this in this in the NFL to play under the franchise tag. So that's kind of a dubious honor, I guess you can say, in a sense, just playing with it in back-to-back seasons like this.
Definitely so. And like you said, he's the first quarterback ever to have to play on it twice in a row. I think he's the first quarterback ever to actually play on it twice.
I
I
think
know
Manning. Mhm.
Drew Brees was and Manning were both tagged twice, but on their second tags they were able to reach deals.
Yeah. So we are
And
still a stumbling block there.
definitely, and let's take a look at the numbers here as well. On May 2nd, it was just reported today that on May 2nd that the Redskins did offer him a 6-year contract for $133 million, 53 million guaranteed at signing for the first 2 years, and 72 million guaranteed for injury. For those who don't know, his franchise tag this year was for about 24 million. So if that 53 million guaranteed, he was already getting 24 of that. In reality, he was only going to get an additional 29 million guaranteed, which, for everyday people like you and me, Sanchez, we're like, give it here, please. I'll
Yep.
gladly take it. I will gladly take $29 million.
That's right.
and, um, and but for a quarterback, you're putting your body on the line there. It's a sport. You could definitely die in it
Right.
if you're hit just the right way. And he has to make sure his family's taken care of, and no one can fault him for that. That extra 29 million guarantee just wasn't going to cut it, and so he just could not agree with it, and don't really blame him for that. But at the same time, like, how much do you need?
Right. And I don't think it's coming down to the numbers thing. I said this to you before as well. Um, I don't think he's concerned about the money more or less. He wants to be wanted, and I guess he might need to have Hunter Hayes as his GM to get that. But
I wanna make you feel wanted.
I honestly think that it hasn't come down to the deal of numbers, more or less. I mean, I think they could throw the kitchen sink at him and give him partial ownership, and still, I don't think Kirk Cousins would want to be here. I think there's still that stigma from one, the Shanahans, and two, his cohort, because I know we don't like to use that name, so I was going to say his draft cohort from the second overall pick in 2012, who shall remain nameless. If you talk about the guy, he's a legendary beast with Roman numerals, so I'll leave it at that. But I do think that that has a lot to do with it. A lot of it could possibly due to the fact that Dan Snyder sees a lot of the Shanahans in him. Like, if he looks at it, it still reminds him of his failed opportunities to get back on top, get the Redskins back on top as a franchise with the Shanahans. But to be honest with Dan Snyder, everything he does turns to a turd sandwich. So he's kind of like the anti-King Midas over here. Anything he touches is automatically destroyed. And I think this relationship with Kirk Cousins, which is deteriorating, but more pleasure, not pleasure, but props to Kirk Cousins for being professional throughout the whole thing. He could have been like, and said the wrong things all the time just to get out of Washington, but he's just showing that how much of a class act he is.
But I also want to say, he wants to feel wanted, but I also don't think he wants to be here. I really don't. I don't think he wants to. He can say in interviews with Joe Theismann all he wants that, why wouldn't I want to be a Redskin? That's just such a rich history and everything. I can tell sarcasm when I hear it.
Right, exactly.
And even if he's trying to do his best, Leonardo DiCaprio impression and get that Oscar, but I don't believe it when he says it. I think he wants to be gone, and we'll get into a list I have here of possible locations, and including some what's the word I'm looking for? Bold predictions of places he could go to.
Some bold, some comical, but I'll leave it at that.
Definitely some bold, some comical.
But,
and we'll get to those in just a little bit. I did reach out to former general manager Scott McLuhan for comments, and even though his wife was so kind to reply to me, and being great, saying that she's grateful for all the fans and their support, I did not get a reply to my questions that I had asked.
Right.
Adam Schefter had reported, though, for next season, either Kirk Cousins will be on the transition tag or he'll get the franchise tag. And for those who don't know, there's 3 different types of tags. We have the transition tag, where he would get paid a little over $28.7 million, fully guaranteed. What the transition tag does is it allows him to conduct business with other teams. He can negotiate deals with other teams, while Washington holds the right of first refusal, which means they can match any contract that happens, or they can decline it. If they decline it, then we get 0 compensation. Cousins walks, and we'll get a 3rd round compensatory pick in 2018. The other 2 tags are the non-exclusive franchise tag, which, like the transition tag, allows him to negotiate with other teams, gives the Redskins right of first refusal to match, and also, if a team wants him, they would have to give the Redskins 2 first-round draft picks in order to sign him. So we get some compensation with that. However, the price on that is a little over $34.4 million for next year. And the exclusive franchise tag is he's ours alone. He can't negotiate with anybody else. He gets 34.4 as well for that. So lots of numbers, lots of high numbers, lots of high millions. They're very huge. So
Yeah, and you talk about these huge numbers, and the big number that was thrown around, $53 million, and Bruce Allen, through the Redskins, released a statement. And just before and I've got the statement pulled up here, before I read this, I want to preface this by thinking, if anybody who knows the Redskins knows who Tony Wiley is, he is the chief.
He's in charge of public relations.
Yeah, the PR guy. I call him the chief strategist. And if you've ever seen how he's reacted, like in the media, like Tony Wiley, he comes off, and I'll be blunt about it, he comes off as a jackass. And I'm not a big Tony Wiley fan. After when the Redskins beat Dallas in 2014 and Colt McCoy, more to him in a little bit, but and how he kind of treated the reporters and everything. I think it was an ESPN reporter, and how he handled the situation. I'm like, you don't really want to make an enemy with this guy because he'll make you look foolish. And this was just a statement they said on Twitter. You can find it on Twitter at the Redskins Twitter page. Our goal was to sign Kirk to a long-term contract with the final objective of having him finish his career with the Redskins. He goes in to say that on May 2nd, right after the draft, we made Kirk an offer that include the highest fully guaranteed amount upon signing for a quarterback in NFL history. And this is what Amir was talking about, $53 million, and then would total for $72 million guaranteed for injury. And they said, despite repeated attempts, we have not received any offer from Kirk's agent. Kirk has made it clear that he prefers to play on a year-by-year basis, which I think is asinine. While they didn't say that, but while we would have liked to work something out as a long-term contract before the season, we accept his decision. Yeah, pretty much. You kind of wrote this storyline a long time ago. It's really no reason why after the 15 season why he shouldn't have gotten paid. Right now he's getting paid. What was it? $20 million after 15.
He got the franchise tag at 19.95, and him and his agent went to them for a 3-year offer at 19.5 per year, but all of it guaranteed for 3 years for a long-term deal. That was reported by Grant Paulson, and the Redskins turned that down. So he would have been in 16 under contract for 19.5, this year under contract for 19.5, save you $4.5 million this year in cap space, and then next year for 19.5, that would save you another 19.5 for that would save anywhere from $9.5 million to $15 million, just about.
Right, and when we were talking about this, we were talking about numbers and all that good stuff. But to me, the investment that you made in Jordan, I feel like that's a slap in the face to the investment you made in Jordan Reed for over the next 5 years when you re-upped him after 15. Also, you're going to waste some of this great talent in Jamison Crowder, who might not be here after his rookie contract ends, which would probably be after next year, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes, next year Jameson's last year on his rookie contract.
Yeah. Josh Doxson, you heard his development there. Terrell Pryor is probably in a wedge block a year, so he might not be here after next year anyway. He just might be here, do the best he can, and then get paid going forward. But either here nor there, I feel like that you're sending the wrong message to the players that you hold of value. Like Jordan Reed, if you're going to start building around this team, and I think this statement of sort that the team has sent out under Bruce Allen's name, I think this sends the wrong message. This is finger pointing. It's what it is. It's classic politics more than anything. I feel like this could have been on Meet the Press or CBS Morning News because just of how it was written. And I mean, I don't care what anybody's politics is, and that's not the point I'm making. But just the way it was crafted at the point. Well, Kirk did this. We did this, but Kirk didn't come back. I said, this is what kids do on the playground, man. I mean, you're adults. You can come to a happy medium there, but and it goes back to what you said. He doesn't want to be here. He does not want to be in the nation's capital. But since he doesn't want to be there, after this season, say he does well, what are some places, what some destinations he might have?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Sanchez, because I do have a list here of about almost about 11 teams, maybe 12.
Half the league.
Just about half the league. Which just goes to show you that that's so many teams that could need a quarterback next year, or do need a quarterback now. So let's here start off San Francisco 49ers. Then we have Los Angeles Rams, the New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, Buffalo Bills, Arizona Cardinals, Denver Broncos, Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints, Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers, Miami Dolphins, and the New York Giants. Now, I'm going to start off with those last three, if you don't mind.
Oh, my gosh. Please.
I know.
I still can't get over this. Every time you say this, it just, oh, my God.
I have my reasonings, though. I have my reasonings.
I know you do. I know, but it's like I said, I can be 85 pounds, but doesn't mean it's going to happen either. But
I take just losing 85 pounds. How about that?
There you go. There you go. But I defer to you on this, on your theory here.
All right, so I'll start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it took Ben Roethlisberger about 2 months to announce that he wasn't going to retire after he said he was thinking about it. And, he's getting hurt every single year. He's not getting younger. He's, his body's not going to outlast his will.
Right.
Plain and simple. There's just, happened to Brett Favre. But, there's just a time that you have to say enough is enough. And, with his, I'm sure he has, I don't know if he has a family by now or not. I'm not going to get into his personal life. But he could retire after the end of this season. Mm-hmm. And why wouldn't Cousins want to go to a place that has Antonio Brown that, he actually has a pretty good rapport with, and Le'Veon Bell, who was at Michigan State with him, if they were going to deal with Le'Veon Bell next season, who also failed to get a long-term deal after being franchise tagged. The next one, Miami Dolphins. Yes, they have Tannehill, but also they have Tannehill. So,
a bit of a predicament there.
Bit of a predicament, and he's now proven that he may not be able to stay healthy. So, Adam Gase may want somebody that can, that he can teach a lot, who's willing to learn. And someone who's already a little bit more developed. And then finally, the New York Giants. Now, this sounds crazy, but,
Yeah, you're right.
Eli was in the same draft class as Ben. Now, Eli's never had any major injury.
Right.
But, God forbid, he goes out this year and Kerrigan sacks him and he tears his ACL.
I still
don't give. I'm not wishing, and I'm not wishing injury on anybody.
No, I got
But who said at 36, 37 years old he's gonna come back from a torn? Who's gonna come back from a torn ACL to play football at 37? He's gonna take that guaranteed money he has on his contract for injury, say deuces, I'm gone. I'm gonna go join Payne on the couch here and host the ESPYs next year. and then they're left with Odell,
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, and mediocre ground game with a pretty decent defense. So, why wouldn't he go there? Plus, he get a little revenge on the Redskins twice a year that way,
Right.
if he wants to be petty like that.
It is a good. That's a good evaluation, but Kirk Cousins isn't a New York quarterback, and what I mean by that is he does not have that.
He doesn't have that swag.
Yeah, he doesn't have that swag, or they say that je ne sais quoi, if you want to be fancy. He just does not have. I don't think he has the demeanor to be a New York quarterback. Granted, he could go somewhere soft like San Francisco, and I think he would be very, welcoming there. And he has Kyle Shanahan. L.A., I don't really think he could go to L.A. because Jared Goff, he's 22. I said this before. He is the number 1 overall pick. He's the face of that franchise. Granted, he had some terrible coaching. He didn't really have an offensive coordinator at LA his first year. If you watch that All or Nothing about the LA Rams, you can tell like some of this stuff that they were running there. This is a joke, and he legitimately has a offensive mind there that will be able to help him out and work through some of these major issues that's coming up for him here pretty soon. I think Sean McVay can get the best out of him. And then like the normal quarterback carousels of New York, Cleveland, Buffalo, teams that don't really have any quarterback whatsoever. They played around. The Jets played around with Ryan Fitzpatrick up until right before training camp, and then you look at Cleveland. Maybe they have that answer for the guy out of Notre Dame. I doubt it, though. They're more looking for an analytics perspective. So maybe Kirk Cousins. Maybe if the analytics work perfectly and the Excel sheets are working fine, it's possible. I wouldn't wish him going to Buffalo on him if he's my worst enemy. I think they don't even know who's in charge. I think they're just as dysfunctional as Washington. And then,
Washington's that bad. They're bad, but not that bad.
I would really, I don't know. Just that Sean McDermott situation there is really like throwing up red flags with me. And then you could go to basically what we would call our Twin City, and it is the team in the Twin City, the Minnesota Vikings. They are pretty much like the Redskins, almost up and down. The way we've played them over the last, I'd say 6 or 7 years, it's been within a score. So I don't think he would go to some team like that, but I really do think he is licking his chops. He wants to go west. He's getting gold fever. He wants to go on a gold rush and see Sourdough Sam and and Catalytic Kyle and all those other guys and Bobby Turner somewhere where he wants to go. It's a change of scenery. He's a Michigan boy who came to Virginia in his pro career. Maybe he wants to go out west, go into a different time zone, and just start over there. His wife's about to have their first child. What better place than to have that baby or start out the early stages of his life right by the bay? So.
Good point.
Yeah.
So now let's say maybe he does sign.
Uh-huh.
What do you think the numbers are going to take? Okay. So Sanchez, you're Kirk Cousins right now.
Right.
All right. You're a 6'2" white guy, weighs 200 pounds, and can throw a quarterback. Can throw a ball.
Right.
And you're making $24 million this year.
Uh-huh.
Bruce Allen comes to you, says, "I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm on my knees. I'm giving you 5 years, 150 mil, 90 guaranteed. What do you say?"
I like what I like what was said just in the background right there. Yeah, I really
Sorry
do.
about that.
No, I like that. That's actually probably what I would say. In that sense, as much rigmarole as Bruce Allen has caused, like Bruce Allen is worse than any kind. He's like stage 6 cancer right now. And I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
Is that
pretty
even a thing?
bad. It doesn't. It's so bad it doesn't even exist. So, I think that's how bad Bruce is. It doesn't. I would have to say Bruce piss off. It's like Chris Tucker said to in Rush Hour, the first one. He's like, when they were getting ready to go to the FBI, he's like, me part of the FBI? He's like, oh, let me tell you what you can do with that. Shove it all up your butt.
Yep.
And that's what it was, and I think that's what it's going to be. Bruce has screwed the pooch on this multiple times. Kirk Cousins isn't stupid. He's a smart man. And he's going to make the right decision, what's right for him. And that
You think Bruce gets fired because of this?
He should. I wish I could screw up this much on my job and have that much responsibility and still have a job. He's like the Marvin Lewis of general managers. He keeps
The Marvin Lewis of general
He
managers.
keeps on screwing up, but he has a job at the end
Or
of
Jeff
the year.
Fisher.
Or Jeff Fisher, yeah. Well, Jeff Fisher finally got fired, so, you know.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he got fired by somebody even worse than Dan Snyder and Stan Kroenke. So, I just... And that's another thing. I mean, people give Dan Snyder a hard time. I said, yeah, does he have wee man Napoleon syndrome? Probably so. And does he invest his money in other stuff? And it's like you said, Amir. You can't be a billionaire and be stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. And I don't think he's stupid. I think that he's got the wrong... He's very trusting. I feel like he.
I think so too.
I feel like he would be the type of person that, back in school, they said, "Hey, I got your nose." And he's like, "Oh, you got my nose, really?" And it's just your thumb. I think that's what happened to Dan Snyder. He just was he was picked on as a kid. So
he probably was. Poor guy.
And you know, God love him. But
we here on the Warpath are anti-bullying.
Yeah, we are. I believe in anti-bullying, only on my defenses. That's it. So I just feel that that's probably the biggest thing there is the fact that he's too trusting. Bruce Allen has done nothing better than Vinny Serrato. Ooh, another name. Ooh, gets chills every time you think of it. You know, and people made him look like...
Guy with a shot of penicillin, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, why Bruce Allen is still there and Vinny Serrato is not... I mean, I don't understand. They've done the same things. They both made the man look like a fool. That's the reason why he fired Vinny in the first place, was because he made him hire Jim Zorn. I'm like, what? Anybody with half brain would have told you not to hire Jim Zorn. Anybody half brain would have told you don't hire your coordinators before you find a head coach. So, but I just feel like he's getting the wrong advice. His business should only be to watch football games and write checks. That's it.
Yep.
And
Jerry Jones finally learned.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know about that. He just invests all that money up in a stadium. That was about it. But yeah, that's wholeheartedly what I believe, and I mean, you know, we'll see. Maybe something will happen, but even so, it's 2017. Kirk Cousins is in one of those 11 spots. What do the Redskins do from here?
Well, I got a list of 3 players to watch out for and 3 players to stay away from.
And this is with the draft, correct?
This will be coming with the draft.
Okay.
Of course, there's always the Colt McCoy option for a year at least. I know, but at least it's an option. It's better than John Beck or Sexy Rexy.
better than Beck, not better than Grossman. But that's just comparing a rotten apple to a rotten orange. So.
All right. Well, if McCoy had Grossman's arm, would you say something? Would you believe differently?
I mean, Rex did have a couple of winning seasons though in Chicago, so and he did go to a Super Bowl. I know that Bears defense and Devin Hester's emergence in 2006 was a reason for it, but yet and still, he made it to the Super Bowl.
Very true. Yeah. So there's 3 players. The first one we're gonna take a look at, and I sent you a link for some. For a video, and you'll see it on the screen right now. Sam Darnold out of USC. He'll be a sophomore this year. Big body, stays in the pocket, great field vision, strong arm, good accuracy, 67.2% last year. Threw 31 touchdowns to just 9 interceptions, and he threw for a little over 3,000 yards in 3 games, and 13 games, not 3 games. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and that was, and there was a lot of tape on him after that Rose Bowl game against Penn State, and I mean the guy was on the run, launching it. I saw in this clip also you'll see one of him playing against USC and in their annual game down there in SoCal, and
you mean UCLA?
Yeah, against UCLA. It's
late. It's late for you.
And I mean, he's just launching it against the Bruins. He's just out there going like 1, 2, 3. I'm just like, this guy is legitimate. I know that. And the only thing that hesitates with me about USC quarterbacks are the fact that probably the most effective one that we've seen in recent time is Carson Palmer, and Carson Palmer he's had he's had one really good year, I think, and that was his second year in Arizona where he actually stayed healthy. I think that was probably his best year, and they made it to the NFC Championship game. But other than that, I mean, he's been subpar for most for where he was drafted at. He's been subpar, so I'm kind of hesitant. I think of Mark Sanchez and John.
I've been with Marvin Lewis for that long. Will do that to you.
Yeah, that's true. It'll just make you think that I'm throwing 13 picks and 12 touchdowns is a great year. So but that's neither here nor there. And also, you had another one.
I do. I have a couple more here. And we have the next one is the name is going to sound very, very familiar. Brett Rippon out of Boise State. He'll be a junior this year.
And that's like Brett, like as in Brett Favre, right?
No, it's more like Rippon as in Mark.
And I believe that's his nephew, correct?
That is his nephew. You're correct, sir. In 24 games at Boise State, he's completed 62.8% of his passes, 44 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, and he's thrown for just about 7,000 yards. He benefits from the spread, but his composure says he can transition to the pros. He has really good footwork and will stay in the pocket and will take a hit to make sure he gets that throw. And he fits into tight windows.
Well, that's good. In case there's ever a fire, he can just hop through that window. But
right?
That's what you need is somebody who can thread the needle and getting it into those tight spaces, fitting it in between two defenders to get critical first downs. That's somebody you're going to need like on a third down to just fit it right in the proper, fitting the peg right there in there for you. Also, and you had one other quarterback here. You said you had 3 to look out for. We had a young man under Mike Leach's tutelage up there in Washington State. Big kid as well, and just tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, we have Luke Falk out of Washington State. He'll be a senior this year. In 30 games at Washington State, Falk has compiled an amazing 10,888 yards, an astounding 68.8% completion, and 89 touchdowns to just 26 interceptions. That's a 3.42 to 1 ratio. His tape reminds me a lot of Derek Carr. A lot of Derek Carr from Fresno when he was at Fresno State, and having the benefit of being here in California, I got to see Derek Carr live a lot, and just seeing the way he played in college. And similar play style. He has really good footwork, and he can throw a really good deep ball. So a lot of people think because he was in the spread, he's not going to translate. His footwork says otherwise, and his field vision. He doesn't. He doesn't. He's not going to. He moves the pocket kind of like Tom Brady does. He's able to move the pocket, not just scramble.
Yeah, and you talk about another scrambling quarterback here,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of move on to your no pass, no goes here, and the young man out of Wyoming is a guy that
Yes.
they have him like kind of going early, and he's a spread quarterback, but
He's definitely
scrambling.
Josh Allen, yeah, out of Wyoming. He's definitely he's in the read option offense. I see him scrambling way too much for my own personal comfort level. He's gonna get hurt playing at the NFL, playing like that. It's just another RG3 waiting to happen. Much like another player on this list, Lamar Jackson
Yes.
from Louisville. He's a great college quarterback. He is not going to be an NFL quarterback, and I think he knows that. And he should definitely. I mean, if he can get $20 million out of a team, why not? Go to the NFL and make Cleveland pay $20 million for you for 4 years and say deuces and retire and go do whatever else you're going to do. Another player that I just don't like his tape. Just from looking at it, I just have a problem with it. Because I think his receivers bail him out too much. Is Josh Rosen from UCLA. I think he benefits from Thomas Duarte, who's is his slot wide receiver. And I think Duarte is really gonna be the talent coming from that school for next year's draft class.
And you said, and that's kind of funny that you say that he's a bailout. He gets bailed out by his wide receivers, because that was the big thing about Kirk Cousins last year, was that Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon were bailing him out at times, but this year it's going to be a totally different story in that respect, as neither one of these guys are here anymore. So we will see, and I guess you could call this young man more of like a stat collector than anything, and it's just kind of running up the NCAA totals and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
And
but I'm thinking, Darnold will probably go number 1 overall if he doesn't decide to go back for another year.
Which is highly likely too.
It is, because if he's smart, he'll want to just get his game refined first before he moves on.
Right.
The one to watch out for sure is Luke Falk. I think he's going to be. I think he's the real deal. Just from watching him, just watching 10 minutes of film, I can feel like he's the real deal. And I'm definitely gonna, with him being in the Pac-12, I believe. I'm definitely gonna take a look at more of his film and everything this year. And same thing with Brett Rippon. Not just because he's Mark's nephew, has really nothing to do with it.
Right.
I really like the film on the kid, and being in the Mountain West, I can probably, if Boise State comes here this year, then I'll go watch that game and do a little scouting report on him, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I really do think that this situation is going to come down to us, the Redskins in general, just saying parting ways, because I think this is beyond repair. Whatever happened, whoever said what about who it doesn't really matter to this point. The writing is on the wall for Kirk Cousins, and these are options that that we see going forward. And not to say that we say that Kirk Cousins is terrible or anything. We're both Kirk Cousins supporters. We're fans of his body of work, and I just don't think Kirk Cousins ever really got a fair shot in Washington. And that
No, he didn't.
that really would get to me. I always feel like this guy has always been compared to either Robert Griffin III. I know I was going to say it, but I said it. Damn it, I said it. I'm not going to apologize for it.
Put a quarter in the swear jar right now.
In the RG3 jar. And
the RG3 jar.
Also, he's never been respected fully by the fan base. I feel like, and a lot of people I talk to in my family, they were like, he's whatever. And my mom, she's a huge Redskins fan, and she supports the team like in almost anything that they do. But when it comes to the RG3 thing, we can't really talk about it because it's just, and people get to the point because it's a sore spot for them. And I'm like, I loved RG3 when he came out of Baylor and he was doing his thing. I was like, yeah, this guy is good. He has his head screwed on back, and who really knew he was a nut job in disguise? But I just think that Kirk Cousins, he always had to look over his shoulder, and you will look at it. If you look at the games, like in 14, that he screwed up in, there was always somebody looking behind him. It was the thing of, Kirk Cousins is just a stopgap right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you finally took away and made him the unquestioned starter, look at what he's done for you. And you can call him a stat packer. You can pat all the stats you want to. You're not going to throw for damn near 5,000 yards 2 years and close to 60 touchdowns in a 2-year span. That's asinine. You're not going to do that just because you're padding stats. Kirk Cousins, one of his best games this year was where he threw for $184 and 4 touchdowns. And that was against Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of his worst games, a lot of people say, was one of his best games, was the loss against Dallas on Thanksgiving. I mean, statistically, he put up a lot of numbers, but they didn't win the game. So I think that's one of the worst ones. But he was consistent enough. He did enough to make sure this team was in a position to either tie the game up or just lose it close, and that's what he did. Also, the man hasn't had a benefit of a running back. Declining Albert Morris. Who else do we have?
Which is sad to say, Alfred Morris was declining just after 4 years.
But you could tell,
he had a lot of tread on those tires, though.
He really did in that respect, and maybe. Maybe, hey, we need running back help. Maybe Dallas might cut him and just bring him on back to the fold to see what he can do there. Fumbleitis McGee and Matt Jones. And then
Fumbleitis McGee.
Yeah, it was. The joke is that I would never let Matt Jones hold my child. If I'm Matt Jones's girlfriend, wife, and has a kid with Matt Jones, he would not be holding my baby because that is
right.
He just drops it too much. Rob Kelly, he showed flashes, but I mean, is he really? He's not a full-time back, so he might be a back that can mix it up. He can spell somebody else. We've got Samaje Perine coming as well too, but we'll see. But Kirk has not had a running back that can say that he can depend on. For all the 33 games that he started over the last 2 years.
Can completely agree. Yeah. Definitely not.
I mean, it makes me so bad. It makes me so mad that I want to go buy some of these LeVar Ball shoes, but.
Oh, don't do that. You can like Lonzo all you want, just LeVar, man.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, and I mean how I articulated that, but I mean that's what I just see in that respect. Like, they have no respect for him. He's like Rodney Dangerfield. There's no respect for him. He has no respect.
More respect.
No
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like you say, he wants to feel wanted.
Yes, yes.
Um. So yeah. Final thoughts. I firmly believe, come 2018 season, Kirk Cousins will not be under center for the Redskins.
Yes. I agree as well. He won't be.
And it's not a stab at him either. This is definitely
Right.
not a stab at him. This is not hating on Kirk at all. I just don't think he wants to be here, and I don't blame him.
Have you seen traffic in Northern Virginia?
I hear about traffic in Northern Virginia.
I wouldn't want to be there either. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want to be there either. It takes you 30 minutes to go 2 miles sometimes in hard traffic. So, I mean, Kirk Cousins don't want to deal with that traffic. That's why he ain't going to L.A. either. He ain't going to deal with that traffic out there either.
San Francisco traffic's pretty bad too.
Yeah,
so.
well,
Santa Clara traffic otherwise is not that bad. Yeah.
But yeah, we've got some big things coming up here real soon. We're actually going to start breaking down some position battles. Probably going to start it with the wide receivers because we've got some loads of arguments to deal with that. I'll tell you this right now: the man on the $50 bill, or the wide receiver who wears number 14, has a lot in common. We'll talk about him. We'll actually talk about these new guys coming up. But there's a lot of exciting things coming up here. We're back. It's football season. It's going to be kind of fun doing this with somebody else and not always talking into the screen to you all out there. We actually have someone that I can debate with, and we're not always going to agree on everything. That's just not how it works. We are going to disagree, and you can formulate your opinions. And as always, we encourage. I encourage comments. I know Amir does.
Definitely so.
We will go, and we might even get an opportunity where we can just read them off and rack them up and comment to them. And whenever we see comments, I'll respond to them and expeditiously, as Joe Clark would say. But we appreciate you all subscribing. Tell everybody about it. We're trying to make this big. We're getting close to, I think it's like 330 now, like 323. So we've come a long way, and we're looking to get a lot bigger here coming into 2017, y'all. And just tell your friends and family about us, because we love you here. And as always, as I say, love, peace, and hail. And Amir, if you got something you want to say, I'll let you go and close out for us.
Deuces, hail all.
All right then, and we'll be talking to you real soon, folks.
You know I'd fall apart without you. I don't know how you do what you do. 'Cause everything that don't make sense about me makes sense when I'm with you. Like everything that's green, girl, and neat.